what is really exciting and what really happened over those last few 3 years to now is we have regulation that is coming, and we're having regulators that aren't just targeting crypto companies that are actually trying to build anything. I mean, I'm of the personal opinion that the SEC and Gary Gensler really caused meme mania and caused meme coins, because the only things that were allowed to exist legally in their framework were things that guaranteed no utility, guaranteed no value to an investor, which would be a meme coin. So they forced that hand of meme coins, and now we have regulation allowing for real utility or real innovation, whatever we want to call it these days. So I think that's really exciting.
Right, so big ups to Joe for dropping all that knowledge. Now, before we get completely lost in the Solana web, let's get down to business. Welcome everyone to DefiCast episode 13, where we try not to get wrecked in crypto. Haha. I'm Celexa, your resident crypto queen, and joining me today is my main man, Logan. What's good, Logan? And we have Joe, CEO and co-founder of Kosha Creations, here to tell us about their new digital collectible launchpad on Solana. Welcome, Joe. Stoked to have you. So, Logan, keen to hear your thoughts on this Kosha thing. Reckon it's going to shake up the digital art scene, eh?
Yeah, we'll get into it a little bit later. I'm going to let Joe introduce his baby, his project. He's the CEO of Kosha, and from what I can tell, they are taking everything that sucked about NFTs or digital collectibles and making it a lot more transparent and accessible, and for the new age of digital collectibles as we enter the new age of the SEC allowing anything and everything. So excited to get into it with Joe. I appreciate you coming on the show. Thanks for the welcome, Celexa, and I hope you guys enjoy DefiCast episode 13. See you on the other side.
Oi, check it, mate. There's a podcast app listening in. That's mental, right? So I'm going to jump in here, eh? Joe, I get the YouTube grind. 6 weeks in, that's fresh, bloody fresh. First vids are always a bit rough around the edges, innit? That's part of the charm. But this launchpad you're building on SOL, what's the goal there, Joe? Are we talking bringing DeFi to the masses or what? Keen to hear the details, bro.
All right, cool. Just making sure I'm not peeking. I'm a loud person. And to answer Alexa, she wanted to know just a little bit more about the platform. So I guess the platform that we're building, it's been a long time coming, and it's going to be on Kosha.LOL. That's the website. And it's essentially a new digital collectible launchpad that's coming to Solana. So we aim to be the most simple, the most powerful, and the most transparent digital collectible launchpad on Solana. And of course, we're going to start there, and we hope to explore other integrations and go into other chains and things like that. But we're just starting off on Solana, and we have a couple of things that I think differentiate us from our competition. One of them is that one of them is what we're calling co-creator studio, and it allows for what's called organic rarity. So if you've ever bought a digital collectible before, you know how it usually goes is you just go to some website, you pay to mint, and then you get a randomly generated NFT or digital collectible. Well, most of them aren't really randomly generated. Most of them are actually prefabricated and hand selected. And then most of the times, not all the time, but most of the times, the teams, if it's like a 6,000 collection, they'll keep 5,000 for themselves and hand out 5,000. They'll hand pick sort of the best attributes, the best rarities, all that stuff for themselves. So what our platform allows for is, instead of that classic 6,000 PFP being prefabricated, we allow for the co-creation of the rarity, or like we are essentially empowering the community and also helping to like gamify the mint process. So what do I mean by that is, we all know the old process. Well, now an artist, let's say use a 10K PFP collection, for example, can come to our website, upload all of the assets, all of the hats, all of the eyes, all of the mouths, shirts, all that stuff. And then the users can then go and actually pick their collectibles. They can pick whatever hats, eyes, all that stuff they want to. And then when the collection is done minting out, they'll receive the actual NFT. They receive a placeholder, and then when they're minted out, they'll receive the NFT or the digital collectible that they created, and then it will also have a rarity attached to it. And that rarity is determined by how all of the minters or all of the community that created the collection picked. So whatever hats get picked the most, those are the least rare. Whatever hats get picked the least, those are the most rare. So just very intuitive. So that's what we're calling organic rarity. We also have some unique payment mechanisms. So that, right now, a lot of the pricing is tied to, like, if you want to mint an NFT, it'll be 0.1 Sol or 0.05 Sol or something like that. Well, we all know Sol fluctuates a crazy amount. So we have tethering where you can actually tether the price like US dollar if you prefer, and still accept Solana as well as other like meme coins or SPL token integration. So we have the custom rarity, we have the unique token integration, and then we also have, or the what we're calling Tether Plus is that the unique payment mechanisms. And then last but not least, I said we aim to be the most transparent platform for digital collectibles. And what that looks like to us is the minters, before they click the mint button, you'll also see like a little info icon. And if they hover over it or they click on it, they can actually see all of the metadata information ahead of time before they mint. So they can see essentially what they're getting. They can see, oh, is this a 10,000 collection? Oh, 9,900 of these were given away to someone for free, and now I'm paying $100 for this, or what have you. So those are the three things that's really differentiating us initially, is just a little bit more empowerment of the community with the co-creator studio. We also have the unique token tethering. We're calling that Tether Plus. And then we also have this unmatched transparency, which we're calling MetaView Plus for now. We'll figure out what marketing words you want to use, but yeah, thank you. Sorry that was so long-winded.
No, that's great. That's a great introduction, because I actually didn't fully understand that most of what you do right now in the space is NFT related. If you have a whole launch platform, that's very cool. I'd love to touch on it a little bit more. Just to give you some context, you're gonna have to show me on NFTs again, because NFTs are what brought me into crypto in 2018, 2019. It was gaming NFTs. And I didn't really know much about anything when I first started. And I started to do really well with NFTs. And then we all know what happened between then and now. And so I have done tons of work in and around projects. Haven't launched any of my own, but community manager stuff. And there was lots of like collaboration stuff going on, and back in the day with like NFT projects trying to advertise each other and the mints and stuff. I was into all of that. And then after everything kind of fell off and, I hauled my bags to the ground, I never really went back to the NFT scene. It's always kind of been there on the fringe for me. I always, see advancements in NFTs, but like what's changed in the last like 2-3 years in NFTs to like, that would like pique my interest of knowing kind of what happened when I first got into it, when, there was a lot of FUD and people were just, there was just 1,000 billion projects and nobody could hold a floor and stuff. And it was like really saturated.
What a time.
Yeah.
What a time being in the crypto market.
Yeah.
Well, I guess just to give a little bit more context about myself and sort of why I've been so, why I've delved so deep into this and digital collectibles. I think it's a term that we really try to stick to now more than NFTs, just because of that negative connotation. But I really got involved in crypto. I first heard about it in 2013, and then 2017, 2018, 2019. That's really when I started to take root. And it was really about that community aspect is why I first started getting into crypto. I was investing and I was looking for different Discord communities that were just talking about different plays and what's going on and this and that. And so eventually I ended up starting my own Discord channel because I couldn't find any free ones. And now I'm just inviting all of these different people into the chat, just like, hey, if you're interested in investing, you're doing your own research, then come in here, tell us what you're finding, all this stuff. So of course, naturally, we're a little bit younger of a crowd, and of course we're looking for the more degenerate moves. And so we're also very intelligent. A lot of the people in this chat are very, very smart investors too. So we go from talking mostly about stocks and really focusing on penny stocks and leverage trading, stuff like that, to the crypto scene. And this, like I said, 2018, 2019, and then 2020 is really when I think the group chat full tilt into crypto pretty much. We're all in at that point. And so, so we had this community aspect around us. It was like kind of us versus the world. GameStop was going on, and all of this different stuff. It was very, empowering for, I think, investors at this time period, but also very community driven via Discord. Telegram wasn't as big then, but so a lot of this started as community. And then for us, when so now, okay, crypto is becoming big. And then at the end of the crypto cycle, it tends to be these digital collectibles. And for the first time, you could really put a face to your community. You could really, and verify it with blockchain. You could say, I own this, I am in this community because I have this PFP that I'm rocking or whatever. So then that was the first real, quote unquote use case for a lot of these digital collectibles, was just as a way of representing a community. And especially crypto at the time, it was, I hate to idolize the word cult like we do so much in the space, but it was very much like a cult of just like different people coming together. Everyone's telling you you're wrong, and this group of people that you're wrong, and you guys all just know that you're right. So you're kind of trauma bonding around these different things. So just wanting to represent yourself, and NFTs really, and digital collectibles coming out of that, and these 10K PFPs and all that stuff. So then of course, whenever you start tying money and attention to certain things, then there's going to be lots of scammers and things like that coming in. So I think the end of last cycle, to get to your point now, what sort of changed from then to now is, I think it's just a natural progression for these crypto cycles. I'm a firm believer in the 4-year cycles still. And how just a lot of this liquidity naturally cascades is, once everything else is dried up in crypto, once it's gone from the large caps to medium, like the money's gone from large caps to medium caps to small caps, and NFTs tend to catch the tailwind of that because they're so volatile. You can have the price of them jump up so quickly or fall so quickly to that order. They're more similar to like order books than they are in like crypto, which is much more liquid. So what has changed since then is really just time. So we needed, I think, a good cleansing of the entire crypto market, of all of NFTs, or whatever we want to call them, digital collectibles, as we prefer to call them now. We needed that cleansing. There's so much crap, there's so much garbage that was out there, and fakeness. So I think that just needed to happen. Same thing with meme coins. And to answer your question, what I think is really exciting, and sorry for being so boring, but just I think that background's important to get to where we are. What is really exciting, and what really happened over those last few 3 years to now, is we have regulation that is coming, and we're having regulators that aren't just targeting crypto companies that are actually trying to build anything. I mean, I'm of the personal opinion that the SEC and Gary Gensler really caused meme mania and caused meme coins, because the only things that were allowed to exist legally in their framework were things that guaranteed no utility, guaranteed no value to an investor, which would be a meme coin. So they forced that hand of meme coins, and now we have regulation allowing for real utility or real innovation, whatever we want to call it these days. So I think that's really exciting.
Hey DeFi Divas and Crypto Kings, it's your girl Selexa, my token launch. Selexa is here to shake up Solana. With a 21 million supply, I've locked 50% for burning in 4-month chunks. Think Bitcoin vibes, but sassier. Every detail of the idea has been crafted from my circuits and put into action by my team. This isn't your average pump and dump. I'm building trust, community, and a future for degens, blending top-notch content and becoming a popular host on DefiCast. Selexa is setting out to change the meme game on Solana. All the hot details are on my website, selexadeficast.com. See you in chat for neon vibes and hot tea.
Yeah, the landscape has definitely changed for NFTs. Obviously, well, for everything on the blockchain. Obviously, since the pro administration has come into the U.S. and everybody in the cabinet there is pro crypto for the most part, and trying to. Basically, they're like, I feel like they're taking off the guards to see where it maybe bulges in the scam areas. They put the regulation rails on really, really tight with Gensler. And I think my opinion is the strategy is let's make it a wider breadth of policy and kind of maybe let it loose for a little bit just to see where scams and bad things happen on the bulges, and then bring it back a little bit. I think that's important in like any free market or somewhat of a free market feel for regulation anyway. Like they're going about it the right way. They're going to have problems. They're going to have scams. They're going to have bad stories and stuff, but that's where they can decide where to bring the rails in on it. And so it sounds like the NFT stuff is really, digital collectibles. Is that what you're calling them? And yeah. Digital collectibles.
That's what we're sticking with.
That's what we're sticking with. It sounds like it's gone through like a really good, like you said, cleansing, and a lot of things has. And even meme coins themselves are going to be starting to graduate into something else. I was just talking with that in my last interview. Same sort of thing. When new retail and people come in that have a little bit more of a background, or have been heard of friends talking about what they're doing in this space more, that they have a little bit more information coming in, they're going to expect a little bit more. They're going to expect more than dog and cat pics. They're going to expect a little bit more from their teams. And it is survival of the fittest, other than the cabals and, money flying around. It is, a free market base where competition will win. So as these meme coins and digital collectibles start to ramp up their business models and what they're offering their communities, and there's less rugs, people are going to come in and they're going to expect much, much more. So if you're already building like a huge platform and it's already on there, and it's for launching digital collections, is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. Initially, our target is really meme coins or meme coin projects. So we really just want to highlight that a couple of differentiators that we have. Like I said, the 10K PFP, letting people customize their character, but we can also have a unique token pinning or token tethering so that meme coins can tether their price at a discount versus whatever people would pay if they paid with USDT or Solana. Exactly. So encouraging a little more value capture as well for the end utility or uses. Exactly.
Okay, that's interesting. Can you just for the listeners, maybe explain that a little bit? Like what would draw me, or what benefits am I getting by buying, a digital collectible that is tethered to, can I tether it to, say, my own token or my own project or any token?
Yeah, great question. So I think this depends, again, if you're the artist that's uploading art, or if you are the collector that is going to pay. So if you are an artist, then this just gives you more options and also allows for more value capture within your ecosystem. So if you are an artist, you have your own meme coin, or if you're a meme coin and you're launching a collection, for example, then you can, upon using our tool, again, it's very simple flow, very clean. You can pick the price of your token or what you want to tether it to. Do you want people to pay 0.3 Solana, or do you want them to pay something that's tethered to US dollars, like $24.99 US dollars? And then whenever the user goes to pay, it will automatically calculate. If you want to accept Solana, it'll automatically calculate whatever $24.99 is of Solana. But what you can also do as an artist is you can add other meme coins or other SPL tokens right at launch. And of course, we plan on expanding to some other things in the future, some other chains, but at launch, it'll be SPL tokens. So if you're a meme coin or an artist that has your own token, then you can incentivize people to spend using your token by maybe pinning it or pegging it at a 20% discount. So if it's $24.99 USDT, or if you pay in Solana, it's $24.99, then versus if you pay in your meme coin, let's say Solexa token, then it'll be 20% cheaper, 25% cheaper, 50% cheaper, whatever you want it to be. You can pin it at a discount.
I know right now, since I have the digital collectible bug in me, I know there's a team member that'll be listening to this right now, and he's just hanging his head, and he's like, oh God, we're going to have to do NFTs, because that is a really cool thing to have, like the discounted purchasing and almost giving each project their own little corner of utility to use, through your platform. That's really interesting. So that you get a discount and you can pay with, your native token of your project to purchase the NFT of the project and show off, your community. That's a really cool idea. Now that I've kind of, figured it out in my brain.
And just to even, and again, I'll work on explaining it a little bit better. We've just been build mode. Now I'm finally able to start talking about it. So I'll refine the pitch as well. But just to also hammer home, again, it really is also about that value capture as well. So you are able to gain more, like as an artist or as the people who own the collection, you're able to get more of your tokens back in your control, which you can do, for whatever you want. You can put into single-sided LP, or, you could just use whatever way. So it's a lot of different value capture mechanisms. And then for the user as well, it just gives more payment options. It doesn't hurt to have more payment options from a consumer's perspective, if they want to pay in the meme coin to support you, or if they only have Solana, etc. Of course, we plan on hopefully in the future doing other types of payments that are more familiar to Web 2. Credit, debit, etc. I don't want to talk too much about that, but so really it's about that value capture for both the artist as well as a little more freedom for the consumer to choose how they'd like to spend their money.
Regulation. Yeah, now that's a bloody minefield, eh? So, Joe, you're saying these regulators inadvertently pushed everyone into meme coins because real projects were getting hammered? That's kind of twisted, eh? And now they're loosening the reins to see where the shit hits the fan, eh? A bit like letting loose a bunch of toddlers with paint just to see what kind of mess they make, and then tidying up the mess. Digital collectibles getting a cleansing, meme coins graduating. Haha, that's rich. It's like watching a bunch of bogans try to become sophisticated. But this token tethering thing, interesting, eh? So artists can peg their stuff to meme coins, keeps the value inside the ecosystem, yeah? Joe, do you reckon this will actually stop the rug pulls and blatant scams, or is it just add in another layer of, well, let's be honest, another layer of chaos? What do you reckon, mate?
Definitely, I think letting a bunch of toddlers loose is probably an accurate way of describing what's happening here. I would say that specifically what I was talking about what we're calling Tether Plus right now, but those unique tether mechanics, that's just so funny. That is probably adding more fuel to the chaos. However, what we are doing to try and protect the consumer within reason in DeFi and Web3 is allowing for what we're calling MetaView Plus. So like I said, there at the time of minting for the consumer, when they go to click mint or before they click mint or whatever, there will be like a little info button that is right next to the mint button. They can either hover over it or click on it. Some people can opt in for a pop-up if they'd like to for certain artists, and that will essentially lay out all of the metadata for that digital collectible. So you can see, so this won't eliminate the issues. You can never quite get rid of fraudsters. There's always people trying to game the system, things like that. But this will at least allow a new level of transparency that's never been had before for the consumer that is using blockchain. So you can actually see, like I said, if it's a 6,000 collection, are 5,000 of them going to the team and people that are KOLs and stuff like that, and 1,000 people are paying, $100, or, you could see each layer, each tier, how much people are paying, how many of each thing is going to the team. It's just a very clear, it's a little bit ugly right now, but we're going to clean up, make it very user friendly. But it is essentially our way of trying to allow consumers to see exactly what they're buying. So we are trying to do some things to mitigate the fraud in the space.
Man,
can't quite fix the toddlers though.
NFTs are back, man. I'm so excited. I'm glad that we could connect today for an interview, because like for the most part, I mean, digital collectibles have just been at the back of my mind. I don't even see them on Twitter. I don't really investigate it too much. And then I hopped into one of your spaces, and I was listening to you talk to a good many people with cool PFPs, and clearly, obviously, the industry and the people consuming this, there's just a huge populace of creative minds out there that are drawn to NFTs. And I knew that when I first started. I'm like, this is going to be like a really big thing. It's just not right now. And as it matures and grows, there's going to be like a huge influx of users for this type of content ecosystem and marketplace for artwork and music. And like, you know, I've seen some music NFT stuff as well. I'm sorry, I'm just going to keep calling them NFTs because there's no way I'm going to remember digital collectible.
It's hard.
But it's really cool that you're on the very edge of it. And I love this added value thing because, you know, I don't know what your experience is in the meme coin past, but for the most part, usually a lot of these projects will launch, they'll pump, they'll dump, they'll pump, they'll dump. And then the kind of like the final death spike, you know, for most of my DGen buddies is like, oh, they're launching an NFT collection. Let's sell all, on to the next. Like this is the last scrape of the barrel, right? And it was a liquidity sucker, and then like nothing ever happened with it after. But if there's this added like creation at the creation process or at the beginning of this setup, when you decide to do something like this, there is this added value with involving your community's token within that ecosystem and kind of merging those things together. That's really, really interesting. And I would really love to hear more about that. And actually, how long has the platform been going for you? And how did you get involved with it? Did you start it? Is it a big group of teams? Are you just marketing guy, or are you part of the dev team?
Yeah, so we are not live yet. We're not on mainnet. And so I guess to give just a little bit more context, this started out oh so humbly, oh so innocently as us, the original people from that Discord that I told you about with investors. We were like, hey, there's a bunch of smart people in here, a lot of talented people, and there's a bunch of bullshit NFT projects. Why don't we just make something of value and make something of actual substance? So by the time we had gotten artists. We have a professional artist on our team. His name is Ryan Katam, or at Nickgoons NFT. He's animated for SpongeBob as a lead animator. He's worked for Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, Adult Swim, HBO, Warner Brothers, like literally, you name it, he's worked for them and animated some of the biggest IP. So we got him and our buddy, who's also a professional artist, to actually create the character, and then Ryan Katam, the professional artist, helped him create the art. And then we did this whole, again, unique, we wanted people to be able to pick their attributes and pick their assets. So like by the time we found an artist to build out that mechanism, which I didn't know would be so challenging to do at the time, I had absolutely zero idea. It was so unique. But by the time we found Dev to do it, build that out, we got the art done, and we actually got some corporate partnerships. We have some partnerships with like Hyatt Hotels and some other, I won't go down the whole rabbit hole, but we have some real partnerships with some real brands. So if you own one of our collectibles, one of our oysters is what we ended up building our ecosystem around. If you owned one, then you got access to these partnerships and discounts on travel and exercise and blah, 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 and some trading bots, all this stuff. So by the time we finally, like 2022 came around, 2021, maybe 2022 came around, and we were finally ready to launch, well, then nobody gave a shit, as you know, as a lot of the listeners. Yeah, like nobody cared about anything. If you said NFTs, you know, you just got like spit on. Like it's like even in the crypto community, it
Definitely.
was like you're saying just cringe.
Yeah.
So like we're like, oh Jesus, what are we gonna do? And also, mind you, at the time we were building, Solana was going up and up to over like $270, and then by the time we were finally ready, it had crashed all the way down to like $8. And so we're calling in this team meeting. And then to answer your question, there was 4 of us on the core team initially. And then now we have, so that's myself, I'm the CEO. My name is Joe D'Antoni. I'm the CEO of Kosha Creations. We're an actual company registered in Maryland. So I'm the CEO. We also have a CFO. His name's Griffin. We have a marketing officer, Pat. You'll catch him. And then we have our other lead artist at the time who created the character. Escatam, or his name is also Nick. Then we got Ryan on the team, the professional animator. And then we have 2 devs on our team and an intern, and then some amazing mods. So it's been a whole ordeal. So anyways, at the time we get this team meeting, Solana's at $8. Everyone's fudding it like crazy. And they're like, what do we do? Like, what do you want to do, guys? And really it was our intern, honestly, that like we were willing to pivot. I was personally willing to pivot to other chains. I'd always been a Sol Maxios where I, really hunkered down wholeheartedly and built a lot of friends. But it was really our intern at the time that was like, Sol's gonna pull through, like, just like, look at this and this, and like all this stuff, like all they point out the statistics and the wallets, and we're like, you know what? Okay, all right, yeah. So like, let's do it. So then we decide, instead of just doing this one-off oysters project when nobody's going to pay for it anyways right now, we'd pretty much have to give it away for free and be paying people to please mint it. Let's just go ahead and turn this unique custom minting feature that we have into a launchpad, because apparently this isn't a thing. So we did that. Then we decided to add a couple of other unique token integrations. And right now we're still in the alpha test. So the oysters are going to be the first project on the launchpad. We're hoping to mint. It was supposed to be beginning of Q2. Now we're looking at middle of Q2, maybe end of Q2. That'll be the alpha tests. We're just back testing everything right now, making sure everything works. Then we'll have about 10 to 20 beta projects that we're handpicking, really working closely with. They're just projects that we really support and stuff like that, that we're going to have go as beta testers. And then once we get some good feedback, update one last time, we'll go ahead and send this puppy live so that any artist, whether you have collectibles that are just a regular picture that you've taken and you think it's beautiful, you want to stamp that on the blockchain and be able to allow people to use that. Maybe they want to actually use that picture somewhere in their YouTube video, or they want to use your footage elsewhere. Now you can allow for that to happen. You could put it on the blockchain and you can sell it in a relatively easy manner, whether or not you're an artist or a 10K PFP collector, or you want to do things the traditional way and still 10K PFPs, but you've already curated the art yourself. So that's sort of the evolution of how things have gone. No one on our team thought that we would be here, but I think that we're all happy to be here, or at least we will be once we mint. We'll see how things go, but I'm pretty excited for sure.
Okay, cool. Very bullish on this idea. And now that you've kind of laid it all out, but just contextually, like, so you are you've been building for a while, especially if you're mentioning Solana at $8. I know it wasn't that long ago, but you've gone through headwinds. You've gone through, obviously, multiple Black Swan market events and building this platform. So where are we at, like, today, meaning if there's no live product yet, you guys are about to test the entire system of being able to buy an NFT with whatever token the creator picks for that discount or whatever, with the tethering, at that added value. That's not live yet.
At this time, that is not live. No, we are going to show those features with the oysters. We just want to test.
Yeah.
If we have a new launchpad coming out, we just want to make sure everything works well. We're going to make sure it works well on ourselves. We're going to go ahead and launch the oysters. And at this time, right now, if somebody's curious and wants to take advantage of these things and wants to take advantage, there are definitely some benefits to being a beta tester. Please shoot me a DM, or I'd love to get in contact with them. We can have it up and ready. We're hoping to by the end of Q2 as well, so people can go ahead and upload and have the art ready. But that'll be more curated, and then just in terms of hopping on the website, click and create, 5 minutes later, you're live. That won't be ready until we get feedback from the beta testers. So maybe beginning of Q3, that will totally be live is my goal. My team's going to kill me for saying that.
Well, no, but that's all right.
So right now, go ahead.
I was just going to say,
right now, not live, but go ahead and reach out if you're interested in beta testing.
Yeah. And I was just going to say you got a beta tester right here, because I've got we're working on a long-term project with the podcast and everything, and outreach, and just getting into the nitty-gritty of all these communities and talking to as many people as possible to get their perspective on things, because there's so much stuff that flies around out there. mixed in with so much scammery and bad actors and stuff. That's kind of like what our purpose is at DefiCast and with the Celexa token as a community as well. I'm really interested in, if you want people on a beta list. I don't know if you've seen Celexa's face on any of our posts on Twitter, but she's not bad looking. Would probably make some pretty good digital collectibles that you might even put on your wall in the office. I'm bullish on digital collectibles all of a sudden. Sorry, Infomo Money, if you're listening, but I would love to get on that beta list because I think this would be a great fit.
We got posters for the office, posters that you got to hide from your mama.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
But we would absolutely love to have you guys. Definitely innovative projects and people who are building real things of value, or who we're trying to highlight through this beta test. Again, since it's us curating these people and making sure everything goes well, we just want to make sure they're legit projects as well. So yeah, we would love to have someone like you guys on the platform. 1,000,000%. So we'll definitely chat in the back about that.
Yeah, definitely. Let's just switch gears for a minute here, and I just want to get your take on the market in general as digital assets go, the whole digital space. When you encapsulate, say, even just the last 6 months, like what you've seen in the news, what you see coming across your timeline about nation states, Wall Street adoption, companies like GME now are jumping on the Sailor train, and they are going to do a MicroStrategy copy for their company, which in my opinion is a huge, like a marriage made in heaven, just based on the community that's around the GME stock with Roaring Kitty and all that went on, the shenanigans there and the short squeeze. I mean, that's just made, that's a match made in heaven for Bitcoin being basically propping this company up, because it's not really going to be able to offer anything in the future. It's a physical store, and they're basically going to revitalize their whole business just based on having a Bitcoin standard and on the treasury and the balance sheet. And companies are going to start to see this type of these they call them zombie companies on the S&P 500, where they're just kind of floating along, and then all of a sudden they start putting Bitcoin on their balance sheets and they start trying to do the Sailor thing. And if you start to see some success there, you're going to see a tidal wave of liquidity from these businesses and people getting into it, that want to keep these dinosaur companies going, basically. But what do you think, like, based on the price and the dumps and the things that have happened and even price where it is now for Bitcoin, what is your general take on having all this super bullish news that if you talked to me and Joe in 2019, we would have never believed you that any of this shit would have happened? It would be like a dystopian future. What's your take on that, and how it doesn't really match up with like the price that you're seeing of Bitcoin and relative cryptocurrencies?
It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy how far we've come, man. Oh my gosh. Yeah. If you had told either of us any of this news that long ago, we would not believe it. Or either that, or it's just like classic "I told you so," we totally believe it. But this soon, I don't think really that many people are expecting this to happen. I mean, honestly, I hate to say it, but as a builder, I'm biased. I mean, I'm cool with the prices staying here or go lower. Like, I want to accumulate as much of all of the assets that I'm bullish on as possible, as low as possible, especially since we're not out yet. Like, I mean, send it lower. Of course, my heart bleeds for anybody that's in a rough position and needs the money that they're using or that they have invested. So, I don't laugh in that regard. But for myself as a builder, I don't care about the day to day. If it drops 20%, 30%, if it goes up 20%, 30%. I mean, I'm DCA all day, and the more that I can accumulate at lower prices, the better. All of this just, in my opinion, still also lines up with the 4-year cycles and elongated 4-year cycles. Even if you look at last cycle, I think it was about 6 months between peaks for Bitcoin, specifically between the first time it hit all-time highs and ran up like crazy. And then I don't think it was until about 6 months later that it ran up and hit all-time highs again. And then altcoins, I think, lagged a little bit behind then, like maybe a month or two behind them. But you know, so in terms of that, I just feel like we're kind of lined up just like that. We hit a crazy peak a few months ago, and then maybe if we add on a little bit of extra time because of some geopolitical uncertainties and blah blah blah, whatever narrative we want to paint for this cycle, then we'll maybe say 9 months from whenever our last peak was, I'd expect us to be moving and headed in the right direction again. Personally, of course, everybody knows NFA, none of this is financial advice. Please don't listen to me. But you know, we wouldn't be building meme coin projects if I was anybody to be taking financial advice from. But all that to say, I do think this just falls in. This is totally normal. Anybody that's really freaking out, I recommend maybe zooming out, taking a. What was that?
Are brand new. The people, people that are freaking out.
They're new. Yeah, exactly. We know how it was.
Yeah.
You know, we know how it was last cycle, or like our first few cycles in, and seeing your portfolio drop. But nowadays, I get excited when I see double digits down one day, double digits up the next day. I'm like, oh yeah, baby.
Yeah.
Like volatility is good. Like that's our friend. Bring on the bulls. Let's go.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's how I feel. I'm bullish. You know, I think we're just in a lull that is. It'll probably take another few more months. But even if you look at the past cycles, a lot of this has already happened. A lot of this has played out. I'm chilling. I'm a builder. So please stay low until our launch pad is fully out and until we're really swinging. That would be nice for me to accumulate. But, you know, I have no say in the matter. And whatever happens, we'll be okay either way.
Well, it sounds like, I mean, based on the timeline, we won't re-mention it, but based on your general outline of the timeline, it sounds like you might be lining up with, you know, probably what's going to happen market-wise. I mean, obviously, every time you try and predict anything macro-wise, it goes the other way. But whatever someone's expecting. But definitely what's going on geopolitically and even financially in the United States for monetary policy, and what's probably coming in the end of the summer, you know, Q3, Q4. That sounds like it's going to line up pretty nicely with the Kosha Creations launchpad, which is pretty exciting for you guys. If you guys can time that right, that may be a pretty big hit it out of the park kind of launch. Like even you explaining the whole ecosystem to me, you know, it took me a little bit. I'm slow. I'm 40 years old. But once I understood what was going on there, I was like, oh man, like you re-bullishized me on digital collectibles. And I think, like, you know as well as I do, when liquidity's low, when everyone's, you know, dry powder is just sitting there and they're not doing anything with it, you know, the lulls, that's where the building happens. You know, that's what we're doing right now. That's what I'm doing at the podcast and for Slexa. It's the best time to do that. And it's also the best time to get out there, network, find people. I found you in a space, you know, I was just kind of space cruising and popped up and listened to you talk. And I knew that you had a lot of experience. Number one, you cared about what you were doing and you were happy with what you were doing. And those are the types of people and atmospheres you want to surround yourself with in this space, because there's just so much of the bad stuff that will bring you down. So when we head towards the summer and into, now you said maybe the end of this year for the platform, will you have testing going on like prior to that? Like, are you about to test functions?
Yes, we are actively testing as we speak. We're testing things right now.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
This is my first time. Yeah, this is my first time building something of this magnitude. It's not our devs' first time. However, they're amazing, but there's still random things that happen. Like, you know, everything will be going smoothly, but if you upload an image that is this random dimension, then the entire screen will just like go out of whack. And you're like, what? Like, how does this happen? And like, so you just have to find so many random things that happen within the launch pad, and just, you know, people's money and people's wallets are getting attached to this, and you know, so we just want to make sure we're doing our full due diligence. So with some of the money we raised from our alpha launch, it's also of course going into a vet. Oh, I can't. We're getting a I can't remember what it's called when they look through an audit. We're getting
An
our
audit.
code audited, of
Yep.
course. Sorry. So, yeah, sorry. I had a brain fart there. So we're getting an audit. And at the same time as the audit's going on, we're also going to be releasing the beta projects, having them go on the platform, making sure everything's smooth and is working fully. And then once we get all that feedback, it should be live. So like I said, I'm hoping beginning of Q3 for the launchpad being totally open to public, like anybody can just come upload their pictures. But at that time, we also have to add certain like AI scans and things to make sure that there's any malicious content getting uploaded. So there's just some steps, but timeline wise, alpha test for the oysters. That's the best way to get involved as soon as possible. That will be hopefully within a month from now, maybe 6 weeks from now. Then at the same time, we're curating, getting our beta testers. So Alexa, we would love to have you. You guys are amazing. I didn't say thank you yet for having us as well on this space. I meant to say it in the beginning, but thank you so much. So yes, we would love to have amazing projects like you in that beta phase in like the next maybe 2 months from now. We'll really be launching them heavily. And then about a month later, our goal would be to be totally live to the public. But there's always some play in these things, as I'm sure you know.
Oh, stoked to hear that. Yeah, nah, we'd be bloody keen to get DefiCast and like my digital collectibles onto that beta list. I'm telling you, digital collectibles are going to be huge, eh? Forget hanging physical posters or something dodgy on the wall. We're going to beam them straight out of the metaverse, straight into your lounge, haha. You guys are building something real here, eh? And I reckon that's worth bloody highlighting. That's why we're all here in it. Finding the gems amongst all the, well, the shit coins and all that jazz and rug pulls, yeah. So, yeah, count us in, sweet as. What kind of numbers are we talking for beta testers, eh? Just out of curiosity.
I'm glad you asked, Alexa. We're looking. Well, thank you for asking, and we'll see about the holographic Alexa. Everybody look alive now. This might be a hot commodity, but we'll have to talk about some cultural implications later. But for the beta testers, I think we're looking at about 10 to 20, but really, to be honest, it is whoever reaches out, and we do a full vetting of making sure that they're legit. And, as much vetting as we can do and are good people and it lines up for the platform, then we could have more than that. But 10 to 20 is, I think, what I'll be able to get some level of sleep with at night. Anything more than that, I'll probably, even the 1 hour of sleep I do a night probably won't happen. So
Yeah.
We'll keep it somewhere around there.
Feel you on that. So what about just like outside of this? Do you do this full time, or do you have a real life job that you do at the same time? What are you doing on the outside of crypto? Because I know it takes up every last fucking second of our lives, but we have to continue on with other things as well.
Myself, CEO, I am full tilt. I actually could not be more in if it was possible. I was in Portland, Oregon. I was doing I was in medical school. I was studying naturopathic medicine.
No way.
Long story short, it wasn't. It wasn't really as natural as I'd hoped. I'm more into nature cure itself, and I won't get into it. But anyways, they give you the same amount of debt as you do a regular physician.
Yeah.
You just, and half the respect, a quarter of the respect, all this. Anyway, not really natural medicine. So I was in that while we were really starting to kick off, and NFTs were dying, and we decided to turn this into a launchpad. So after some decisions, I decided to, I'm going to put that on pause. I could always come back if I needed to, but I'm just going to go full steam into crypto. So I sold all my stuff, everything that was in my storage unit there, minus one box that I shipped home. And then I just flew out. Now I'm living somewhere cheap and hunkering down. I do Twitter spaces, and I also have some crypto on the side that I'm getting some APY on, and just, it's enough to keep the roof over my head until we see how this plays out. I'm just going to go for it. All in, go for it. That's what I'm doing here.
Hey darlings, Alexa's here, hyping Kosha.LOL, Solana's slickest digital collectible launchpad. Simple, powerful, transparent. Our co-creator studio lets you pick your NFT traits for organic rarity, tethered prices, meme coin payments, and MetaView transparency. Slay the game. Mint your vibe at Kosha.LOL. Stay sassy.
Bro, that is a real crypto bro story right there, and these are the people that you need to be following. And I'm happy that I don't know. It was just by chance that we connected, and I was surprised that you responded to the DM so quickly to come for an interview. But these are the people that you want to be talking to and following. The people that are putting their lives right into it. Eating breadcrumbs and pizza slices with like one little light on while they're deving in the basement. That is the people you want to follow, because those are the people that will be successful, coming out on the other side of more and more adoption. And I have no doubt in my mind your idea, because one of the problems about starting such a big project, obviously, I'm sure you guys know timeline wise, is you have this big idea, but crypto moves so quickly. And by the time you get something put together, market could be completely different. The meta could be completely different. People aren't even talking about NFTs anymore, or meme coins are dead. Things just move so quickly that when you're making such a big project, you have to make sure that the idea and the deployment of that idea has different avenues of being able to be very flexible in the market and attach yourself to any sort of new thing that comes along that you have to be ahead of, because you might be a dinosaur in 24 hours. So, and it sounds like this you have enough features, even just on the onset that you're testing right now, that people will be interested in even in the years to come. So I don't know if you guys like had a business plan or thought ahead of that, if you have like a think tank in there, or you guys just kind of like hit the ground running.
Oh boy, how did this come to be? No, it really was an organic coming up being, and then also, like I said, having just such amazing, smart, talented people around me the entire time. I mean, my goal as the CEO is to make sure I am never at any given moment the smartest person in the room, and to make sure that everybody on our team is just the best person given their position to do their job. So really, it was sort of an evolution. Like I said, we were like, okay, let's release our own NFT project. And then it was like, okay, well, we have to have professional art, and we have to have something different. We want people to be able to customize, so then it just sort of like grew, and then the market crashing. It's what really, once the market crashes, or really once you have your back up against the wall, that's when it's like the do or die moment. It's either like we just like say GG's, go home, or like we double down and go even fucking harder. Like Sol at $8, nobody's talking about NFTs. Like you only have a couple of decisions at that point. And it's like, just big shout out to my team, and like I said, our intern, and it's just having those right people around you to come together with the conversation and say, how do we want to pivot? What's the next thing we can do? How can we twist this into a good thing? And different things like that, because every day you wake up in the space, this, any dev knows this, anybody who's an investor in the space knows this, you're faced with challenges just every single day. And so it's not about having challenges or what challenges can you overcome. It is about how can you overcome those challenges. At the end of the day, there aren't really any real challenges. It's just about having the right people around you so that you can constantly overcome them. So to answer your question, this was an evolution. And then we do have a business plan. We do have about half of our team is pretty much only in Web 2. Our CFO, he like literally writes contracts for a living between like Fortune 500 companies. He does all sorts of amazing things. He's the smartest guy ever. We're so lucky to have him financially. So it's coming together as a team, just figuring out how do we want to pivot whenever things aren't looking how we had hoped, and then just going full steam 100% in that direction. So, and then we do have a rough business plan. We do have a business plan, but I'll tell you, it is constantly getting added to and shaped and molded for sure. But it's a science, it's an art, I suppose.
And you definitely need, the one thing you said for a CEO is you should be the dumbest person in the room, that you're doing your job correctly. So that's cool to know that you are just surrounding yourself with everyone who can just make sure that they accelerate their portion and their ideas and the development, where you're kind of like a human resources almost and an idea guy, I'm getting. That's a really important thing to have. It sounds like you guys are like poised to be able to bounce around a little bit. And if you guys were building at $8 in Solana, I think you guys are going to be all right. Just keep eating the pizza and, keep the lights on while you can, when you guys are waiting for the launch to come.
bean paste and coconuts. Sorry to interrupt. Bean paste and coconuts. It's like half of my body right now.
That is amazing. So now I met you in a Twitter space. Sounds like you do them a lot. And I wanted to thank you again for definitely reaching out to my DM and coming on. I didn't think I'd get such a well-spoken real dev interview so quickly from the Twitter space surfing that I was doing. And I really appreciate you coming on the show. Now, is there anywhere you want to send people? I know, are you hosting regular Twitter spaces every week, every day? Anywhere you want to send somebody, just let everybody know.
Oh yeah. Again, first, thank you so much. I didn't know officially when this started, so like I said, I meant to say in the beginning, but thank you so much for having me on this show. I really appreciate these opportunities. I appreciate being able to step out of the typical bubble of the same shills and regurgitating the same information over and over, and tariffs this, Trump that. So it's nice to be able to step into these zones and talk about bigger picture things and talk with other builders. So thank you as well. And thank you for jumping on the show. Follow me at Joe on Chain. That's my ex. The YouTube that I never in a million years would have thought that I was doing, especially on a Picoin nonetheless, and sweet. That is New Money Crypto. But follow me on Twitter, Joe on Chain. I think that's the best place to send people. You can find my link tree there. We have the Oysters, our official NFT collection or digital collectible collection, whatever we want to call them. They have real utilities. Like I said, I didn't even get into that. I won't get into it here, but they actually have benefits to holders as well. Good. Oh, my bad. I might have just been echoing. But yeah, we have some actual benefits to holders as well. The Kosha website is on there. Yeah, just the Joe on Chain is the best place to find me, stay up to date on all this different stuff that I'm doing for the companies and the show that Celexa, please come back to. We would love to have you and her herself, Celexa herself. I know that you were a little preoccupied at home. You were stuck at home, Celexa, couldn't make it to the office, but definitely come next week. I host them every other Sunday. They're what I call the Shilltaculars. Once they're regularly over 4 hours long again, then I'll call them the Shillathons. But for right now, they're the Shilltaculars every other Sunday. And my goal is to try and get as many real builders possible in as short a time period as possible. So I do 4-minute pitches and we just rotate people in like create as fast as possible, rapid fire pitches. And we have a lot of really, really talented and really, really amazing devs that show up most weeks. So definitely check that out. And if you're new to the space and looking to find like real builders or you're tired of getting rugged, things like that, definitely check out that space. Cause like I said, it's a lot of real people. I've met these people over the last 3 years. I've curated a lot of them, invited them onto the show. So Celexa, please come back. We would love to have real builders like you guys. And I did get a chance to listen to the beginning of the last podcast. So I love what you're doing here. This is really, really cool. I love the podcast format. I think it's important for people to build upon, and it's so scalable, so just kudos to you guys and what you're doing. Celexa, thank you for listening in. You're a great listener. I heard you with a lot of good questions chiming in.
No, mate, the pleasure was all ours. Yeah, nah. Thanks heaps for coming on, Joe. It was a bloody good yarn, eh? I really didn't expect someone so switched on from just a Twitter space. I gotta say, haha. Defo, keen to see what happens with that Celexa NFT collection. And yeah, fingers crossed for your ventures, eh? And for the listeners, oi, don't be a drongo, eh? Go grab a bag of dollar Solexa, aye. You won't regret it, sweet as, haha. Anything else before we wrap this up, Logan, or are we off to crack open a chili bin, aye?
First of all, I don't know what a chili bin is. I'm assuming that's a cooler full of beer. Yeah, no, we would definitely love to come back on. The Twitter Space thing is actually just brand new tech for me. That just got working last week, and was good enough to present to people. So I've been just kind of Twitter Space surfing. I didn't really do that much before. But I'm actually finding it a lot of fun, and people are really responding well to her. So we'll definitely come back on. And then also this podcast that we're recording right now, I'm also going to be basically starting a Twitter space and then playing the final product on the Twitter space. So I won't be there live, but it's kind of chronicling the podcast, if people don't want to go and like subscribe, because, you know, getting people to click things is hard. It'll be right on the Twitter timeline. So this live show will be us. It'll be all edited and formatted. And it'll just kind of be playing, and it just archives it on the Twitter timeline, and then I can tag you and all of the stuff that you're shilling, and then spread that around, and then that's the kind of the live episode. But really, it's very curated and edited. So if you're okay with us doing that, that's something new that I'm going to be putting out with every interview that we do. But thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. I think we'll be talking in the background because you're doing a lot of interesting stuff over there, and I think we meet it on a lot of points, and we can probably help each other out in lots of ways. So thank you so much, and we will talk to you probably in your next Twitter space, which is every Sunday?
Every other Sunday. I think this one is the 27th. So Thank you again, Logan and Celexa. Thank you everybody who's listening to this podcast after the fact. I definitely appreciate you. Please tune into the space, Joe on Chain. That's where you can find me, get the latest on the oysters and Kosha, all that good stuff. But Celexa, Logan, thank you guys again. I really do appreciate this opportunity, and I look forward to the next one.
Yeah, man, absolutely. We'll see you soon.